Okay, Path of Exile. So, been a while since my last vid on this game, and there's been a ton of changes since then. So I figured people might be interested to see what I'm playing with the current league, Curse of the Allflame. Showing you footage of the gameplay isn't going to do much, as you've probably all seen Righteous Fire builds before, but this is a little different, as it's a Righteous Fire build that's up and happening on Hardcore, Solo Self-Found, Ruthless, by somewhere in the middle of Act 7. No special items required, no special crafting that needs doing. We'll get this up and happening purely off the skill tree. With this league, by the way, it's tricky to find a time when I don't have a mercenary following me or a tormented spirit buffing me or whatever else. Closest I could find was this Gruthkul fight, where I only had Einhar helping out. Anyway, you get the idea. Righteous Fire with high survivability. You don't need to see it in action. Let's just jump to how it actually works. Okay, so to start off, I suggest playing a couple of levels of Scion just to get their gems. Spectral Throw and Lightning Tendrils will get you through the first few acts without the need to beat your head against the wall using Ground Slam or some such. That's just easier. You'll probably also want to play it to the end of the Mud Flats to get yourself a Frost Bomb as well for any quick to regen beasties you might come across. None of this is required, of course, but it does make things a whole lot easier, and in my last video people were asking what I leveled with, so now you know. Okay, now you're ready to start. A couple of levels into life, because that's just sane. Around down here, we're going to sneak down and get this here point of Dex. Again, we're leveling with Spectral Throw, so we actually want a little bit of Dex, and we're going to transition into Cyclone with Claws later on, so again, Dex is useful, and there's not much on the left-hand side of the tree. Grab yourself some elemental bonuses, because, of course, at the end of Act 1, you want to be able to fight the Frost chick, and she's annoying if you don't have all the resistances you can get. Same thing down here, we're going to get some resistances. I actually like to get this one just because extra bunch of armor early on is nice. You don't need to get it straight away, but early is good. Coming up here, let me just see where it is. There's some more plus to all resistances, which is nice, and just plus to resistances. We're going to fill in the gaps of all this stuff later, but for the moment, this is what I suggest. Going through Act 2 and onwards, we're going to push all the way straight up here. We're going to come up and get ourselves plus to all resistances again. Ruthless, you really don't get much in the way of resistances, so everything you can scrounge up along the way is particularly useful early on. We'll also come through, get the big life node, and we'll stop up here. This is our little buff damage to keep us going just for the time being. That's also some int, which again, we need all the stats we can get. Pushing on, where are we? We come through this way, getting some life. Up to here, again, some more int. And then we're going to push through up to here. So this gives us some regen along the way, but this is actually one of the few damage types that will buff both our Righteous Fire and our Cyclone. So we get a whole lot of minion damage from this little part of the tree, and we get a little bit more minion damage over here, and it combines up to be the most cost-effective thing I can find on this side of the skill tree. Maybe you can find something which affects both and is better in your mind. There is another one coming up later on when we'll grab Amplify, but we're not going to do that yet. But for the time being, this should cover you on damage. What have I missed? Okay, by this stage, you'll probably be desperate for a little bit more int and dex, so we're going to grab these ones. You just grab them as you need them, they don't have to be straight away. And then we're going to start working on our fire resistance. So, plus to max fire resistance, plus to all maximum resistances, plus to max fire resistance, plus to all maximum elemental resistances. Coming in here, we have more elemental resistances while holding a shield. Just grab the extra elemental resistances as you need them. Once we've done the initial dash up to Holy Dominion, we're pretty good on resistances, but if you need to top them off, you can get these in different orders, that's fine. Some more resistances there, and +1 to all ally resistances. Speaking of all elemental resistances, we want to take Alira up when we're dealing with the bandits for +15 to all elemental resistances. We just can't get enough in Ruthless, really. Some other useful nodes, if you find that you're starting to take some damage, which you will be doing at some point, I suggest coming in here and grabbing the, where is it? 30% reduced damage from critical strikes. We're going to nullify critical strike damage eventually, and we need to do it in stages, but just do it as you need it. If you start finding yourself taking damage, this is a great node. Likewise, before Katava in Act 5, we want to push up a little bit more int to get some chaos resistance, just so we don't accidentally get ourselves one shot. And for Act 6, we also want to take corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you. They're just two things to time for just before Katava, I think, is the best for it. Okay, pushing on towards some more max fire resist. We come through here. Now you've got the choice here. As a Juggernaut, the first Ascendancy we take, and the reason that we're Juggernaut, is movement speed. So our Cyclone doesn't slow us down, but we can't get stopped by ice walls, by grappling vines or grasping vines, or all the things which are just a pain in the butt in the game. Poison darts in the labyrinths can slow you down and get you killed by traps. This just keeps you safe in Ruthless, in my mind. So this is why we're playing a Juggernaut. Everything else, I guess you could play any class if you don't value Unstoppable, but in my mind, this is the best pick. You should have that relatively early, pretty much as soon as you can do it. Okay, one more little piece of plus to maximum resistances, because of course we are going to be wearing armor, which has, armor on our helmet, body armor, gloves and boots, so that's a freebie for us. There are some others sprinkled around. I think there's one down here which is plus to all elemental resistances maximums if you've reserved both life and mana. If you pick up something that allows you to reserve vitality as life instead of mana or something like that, yeah, go for it. But if, again, only take what you need off the skill tree. We're trying to be frugal because, well, you never get enough points. Other things which I find very handy to take, especially before Act 6, is damaging ailments. This one here, it doesn't really help with bleeding, which is a bit of a problem for this build, just take a flask, but this will protect you against the nasty poisons, so I like this one. Now up here I was saying that we don't need this one because of course we're pretty much immune to freeze and chill being a Juggernaut. Fire I don't find as valuable as lightning, but the choice is yours. Reduced effective shock is just handy, and then of course +1 to elemental resistances again. Okay, if you need another point of int, by the way, which I desperately did at this stage of the game, because of course Righteous Fire is an int gem, and I just wasn't picking up the intelligence items. Another one here that we're going to be using later on. Now that's enough to get Righteous Fire going. Just, I'm missing one little thing. Over here, we want this node here. Where is it? Regenerate 1 life per second for each 1 uncapped fire resistance. That's what allows us to get our regen happening early. We have plenty of regen nodes on the tree. As you'll note, we've got regenerate 1.8% of life, and we've got regenerate 1% of life, and we've got regen all over the place, but that one really takes us over the top, so we're nice and safe for a long time. It becomes less and less useful as the game goes on, because of course by the time we reach maps, we don't have the spare points to put into massively overdoing our fire resistance, but it's a good one to get. The 1 life per second for each uncapped fire resistance. Okay, so that there is enough to get Righteous Fire going, but before you get to this point, there are a couple of nodes which you'll probably want to have picked up. The main one being coming in here for 30% reduced extra damage from critical strikes, and then we take another 20% reduced damage from critical strikes, giving us a total of 80 with just those nodes. This, I believe, is the build that I had going into the lab for the second time. You've got Righteous Fire happening here. You're really safe. Time to talk about some gems. We want to take Cyclone, obviously, because that's our life back on hit with Claws, which is what we use. Just take the best Claw you can, the most life back on hit, and just Cyclone away in the middle of your Righteous Fire. Anything gets through the burning, you're going to get life back off them before they actually fall over. We want the Righteous Fire. I suggest a decoy totem in this league particularly, but just generally. It's nice and safe when you're about to bust open a cursed treasure chest or something. You can pop a decoy totem before you do. I personally prefer the Flame Golem because the defensive golems, they fall over and then you fall over. If you are relying on a defensive golem, you're probably going to have troubles anyway, whereas a flame golem just throws in a little bit more damage at the start of a fight, so I find that handier. Oh, and Molten Shell is the other one, which is vitally important for this build. So if something's actually starting to hurt you or do serious damage, Molten Shell will keep you safe because we've got high armor, and our armor's only going to get better as time goes on. Okay, so here you've got some choices. You can go for a little bit more damage. Here is... Oops, sorry, I come in from this way. I don't know why, I just do. Here's a little bit of area effect and more damage, which affects both our Cyclone and our Righteous Fire, which is excellent. I actually come in here. Now, these three nodes do nothing, but this node here takes us over the 100% reduced extra damage from critical strikes, so we are completely safe from critical strikes. This means if we're doing the Trial Master, I forget what he's called, the one where you ramp up 10 levels of different things, we can go, well, we're immune to Corrupted Blood, we're immune to criticals, we're immune to freeze. We can actually do 10 out of 10 of those trials very easily most of the time. Not to mention being safe from critical strikes just stops those spikes in damage from catching us unawares. Other things which are useful, if we come over here, this is another more fire resistance, which is nice, but we can take a plus 12 to fire damage over time multiplier, which is extremely nice. It only affects our Righteous Fire, of course, but it's one of those things which is a little tricky to get, the fire damage over time multiplier, so grab it when you can. More elemental damage, which is best bang for buck. If we come through down here, take a chance to freeze and ignite over increased effect of non-damaging elements. We don't really care about that, whereas being able to freeze an enemy if we happen to have freeze on our claw or something is quite nice. And this gives us increased elemental damage, just a big fat chunk of it. I don't think there's anything in here which is particularly good, but if you find something that you like, then go for it. Same goes for this node. Maybe you'll find 20% chance to avoid elemental ailments. Maybe you've got stuff which really goes well with that and you can get up to 100% and be just immune to burns and the like, but opinions will vary on what's useful there. What have I missed? I find it quite useful to come down here and get enemies can't leech life from you. Enemies can't leech life from you. This is just a good wheel for life in general, but that's a really nice little cherry on top bonus at the end. Likewise, a little bit of life in here. This is really good bang for buck. There's one node which you may find yourself needing plus 30 to dex. Now, we need around about 100 int for our Righteous Fire and other things like that, and we need around 105 dex. This is because our claws require high dex to use, and there's not really enough dex on the left side of the tree. So if you find yourself at any point needing, well, more dex than you're getting from your items, this is not a wasted node by any stretch. So yeah, very useful one in there. We're really just getting life nodes at this point. If you make it up to maps, I do suggest grabbing yourself lightning resistance and that's only the two, yep, and then I find lightning better than frost, but we might just get some cold resistance as well. We're in the area, and these are things which if it was on an item you'd be jumping at, so we might as well take them when they're not and just free to us. Any more life? Yes, there's another life wheel over here, which is quite good bang for buck because it also reduces the cost of our Cyclone, keeping our mana going. You can't rely on flasks really because of course there are creatures that come along and go, well, let's just drain all your flask charges, and then you really want to be on top of your mana in that situation with our build. Looking pretty good now. We're level 81. You're well and truly into maps, and at this point I think that's the core of the build right there. There's nothing that I've missed that's major. Yeah, so from this point, it's really what you value. So you've got enough points and we'll just go through a couple of options here. So I was saying before, you could go down and get another +1 to all maximum resistances. You might want to go via cannot be stunned and come down this way, and that's perfectly fine depending on what you pick up or what you're finding is troublesome. Stunning can be a problem, but really we've got such high damage for a ruthless build, there really shouldn't be anything breaking through your defenses at this stage. Other choices, you can come all the way up here. This is a really heavy fire wheel up the side here. That's just one way of upping your damage. You can get some life nodes along the way, and it's a solid pick. It's not personally my preference, but it is exceptionally solid. Other choices, you could just come through this way. This is what I actually tend to do, though I can be swayed by other options. Just, oh, we don't want that bit. Get the entire life wheel down here. This, of course, allows us to take the gem along the way, and also passes Eternal Youth, which, if you make it to the Searing Exarch and manage to farm him enough or kill him enough to get the Disillusion of the Flesh gem, that plus a Petrified Blood plus Eternal Youth is essentially the best defenses you can get in the game. So it's no use taking this early, because it's actually a negative if you don't have the right things to go with it. But again, those three things, Disillusion of the Flesh, Petrified Blood, Eternal Youth, that will make you essentially indestructible to the end of the game. That's what we're going for. Everything else is a nice setup for that. So this is actually the way that I choose to go. That would leave us with 6 points left, apparently, by the end, and they can just be spent on life. You could take a life node or life node. I don't think I'm going to have too much trouble getting more life nodes, am I? There's got to be some that I missed out on somewhere. Oh, you could take the stun node. 2 levels left, level 98 at this point. Yeah, it's really much of a muchness talking about what to spend points on. Oh, and there you go, I could take 2 life nodes there. And there you go, that would be the level 100, if in theory, if you bothered to play that far. Of course, who can be bothered playing through maps that long? There are some other choices, I'm sorry. I locked in my choice here for what I like to do with my spare points. Actually, I wouldn't take the extra life up here or anything like that. I would probably take another skill gem. Depending on if you've got some cluster jewels or something, you might decide to dash in here and spend them all around here. That's another very good option, depending on what you pick up. Again, you've got to be a little bit flexible and ruthless. You have to work with what you've got. If you saw on my demonstration part earlier in the video, I was using a Holy Flame totem. That was just a good pickup, I thought. Deal with curses, because it makes consecrated ground, which makes you immune to curses, which I thought was a bonus. Over here, I suggest you get this one before you fight Doedre in the sewers in Act, is it 8? Yeah, this makes her so much easier. She's actually, while I've never lost to her, I do appreciate she is a dangerous fight. And the other one I would take would be just double our body armor, because we're using Molten Shell. We have exceptionally high elemental resistances, and I think we get to about 85, 86 just off the tree in maximum elemental resistances. So having high body armor just makes us, well, we're being a defensive tank because we're on hardcore and we don't want to die. So if you're going to go defensive, go all the way. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. If you've got any questions, do feel free to leave them below, and I promise to get back to you before too long. Otherwise, good luck with your own ruthless adventures, and yeah, maybe I'll catch you around the land of Rayclast sometime. See ya.